fear is...
So I'm going to pause you right here.
Yeah.
So starting like a lead into it as if it was a fresh thing.
Okay.
So like perfect into afraid of falling into what's there. Cool.
I feel that there's the need to be perfect or perceived in a certain way, and the fear behind it, I think, is not being accepted or being judged.
That's perfect. So we can start in that same thing and just explore it. Yeah. What's here in this moment?
I guess an overemphasis on what others will think versus just what is. And what I notice is a lot of times when I just focus on what is, that it has such a positive, powerful impact. And I think I've come a long way with it. I used to be hypersensitive and not even express certain things or say certain things because I was afraid of the impact and the judgment. And I'm becoming a lot more comfortable with just expressing what is and letting the pieces fall where they may and not being attached to the consequences. I think there's something around being attached to impact versus just living in full permission. So I guess a fear of full permission is what exists. And the consequence, the fear is that, judgment or lack of self or lack of acceptance, or liking me less. Like there's a certain, everyone has to just think I'm wonderful.
And like, what's I guess playing around with the humanity of that part of you, like, what do you want to own or say or like claim about this part of you, and where do you want to go with it?
I think just to be at full permission, like I think there's an overemphasis on taking care of others too. Like it's not only about me, but maybe going along with things or staying in things longer because of my fear of the impact on the other person. And I guess it's a fear of hurting someone else or there's something that makes me upset too when like I won't speak up in a situation that feels a little bit uncomfortable. And then people do this to the extreme, so these are very minor situations. But even if it's something that's like, even in a restaurant, I mean, for the most part, I'll ask for what I need and want, but I'm trying to think of a good example of something small where,
You're doing such a great job.
Thanks.
Yeah. I'm just trying to balance my height so that you're like...
I feel like I had a good example and I'm not thinking of it. This is the silliest example ever, but like we had a new house cleaner come to our house for 1 month because her other one's gone, and she brought in like her own small vacuum, and I have like a good powerful one that like gets rid of dust, and I have a lot of allergies, and she brought in her little one that and she's like, oh, like I thought I'd bring in my own, and it has this nozzle, and I kind of said okay, even though like I much preferred she use mine, and then I thought about it and didn't want it, but I kind of just like let it be. And hers actually ended up like, I think kicking up a lot of dust from other houses, and like I was having some allergies, and I was like, that's so silly. Like I was more focused on her and like making her okay than just focused on what I wanted and needed in that moment. And that's the tiniest example, but I feel like sometimes that happens. For the most part, I ask for what I need and want, but then there's just times when I'll just go along or let something be easy. And I don't know, I guess those are moments that I want to work on, or not be so afraid to say like, no, this doesn't feel good. I think there's always a fear of, I guess, being judged or having a negative reaction that prevents me from doing that.
Yeah, and if I really knew you, like, what would I know about you?
I guess that I have like self-doubt, that I'm like good enough or can do something, or I feel like I diminish myself a lot. How I look, maybe physically, or the job I'm capable of doing, like the value I'm capable of adding for clients, or how I am as a friend. But it goes back and forth. If I think about it, sometimes I'm like, oh, like I have these positive qualities, I'm adding value, like this is all great. And then other times I don't think I give myself as much credit or own the value that I am giving to others or the world. I think this is hard for me too, because I always try to focus on the positive. So I keep wanting to go to, but I'm working on that, or I've come so far, I have so much growth. So I think it's hard for me just to live in like, this is just negative, and not that these are necessarily a negative thing, but it's just more, I guess, a bearing of the soul. But I'm noticing I keep wanting to go to positivity or growth.
Yeah, so what's in that noticing about, like, what are you discovering about yourself with that? Like, what do you think that speaks to? And so starting from here, I noticed that or that I notice that in general, if I do this, then I tend to go to the positive, and then just see what you discover about it.
I was going to say, too, well, one thing that I think if you knew me, you'd know that, like, I always feel like I should be doing more or doing better. Like, I eat super healthy, probably compared to most people. And I'm always like, oh, like, I ate too, I don't know, I'm very perfectionistic about it. So I could be doing even better. Or, like, I try to get outside and walk every day, but I could be doing even more. Like, or I'm doing X for the client, but I could be doing even more. Or more productive at home. Or, so there's something around not like kind of rarely being good enough. Sometimes I'm like, oh, that was good, and I was proud. And other times that wasn't quite right, or I should have done that better, and like I constantly live in that story. And I guess I live a lot with a fear of negative consequences of things. Can you state your question again?
Yeah, like, in knowing this about you, like, what do you want to say to this part of you? Like, what do you want for you? Like,
I think I just want to sum it up, to be brave. I think brave in my actions, brave in knowing that I'm doing always the best that I can, and that's good enough, and I can always strive to achieve more, but to just kind of like bravely accept what is, and then bravely be on the path of growth, but not on the path of perfect. And brave in kind of knowing what matters and what doesn't, and showing up powerfully in what matters, and not paying as much mind to things that really don't, to the people who I would want to be connecting with. And to own, sometimes when I do show up just powerfully and authentically and honestly, like, that's so powerful and people are so moved. And yeah, anything else?
awesome. So now from this place, with all of that you've shared and you've like looked into, from here, almost to yourself, like self, if you really knew me, you'd know that. Like, what are you seeing here?
If someone really knew me, what would they know?
Yeah. Or even like, You can start from anywhere.
I think I'm pretty open with people with what I'm thinking and feeling. I guess maybe what people wouldn't know is just maybe how hard on myself I am, or like I'm always trying to be more perfect, or not really owning my full value. Or I guess that I have a lot of worry and fear about things.
Yeah, I guess here what I'm seeing or is an opportunity for you to speak, to round it out with the everything of you. Like there's this, and there's the powerful,